What is up, you guys? Matt Vaughn here with another GTO Wizard sort of like walkthrough. This one's going to be less tutorial-ish and more just me running through spots myself. I'll intro you to the spot I'm looking at, and then we'll just dive into it. So yeah, this is the trainer. If you haven't experienced this before, you might want to watch the previous video. I'm just going to dive right into the spot and explain what's going on. So in this spot, in this situation, we're 40 bigs effective. It's a tournament spot, multi-table, no ICM impact, just a chip EV set of ranges. It's going to be low jack versus hijack in a single raise pot. So low jack is opened, hijack is called, they're heads up to a flop, and it's the low jacks, so the opener's decision on whether to c-bet or to check. Now, a lot of times I will run spots in isolation. I won't actually like run the whole hand, but in this one, I'll just run the whole hand and we can kind of have fun with that. It's a little more interesting for video content than to just run individual spots or streets. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to probably go into focus mode. I'm set on one table and I have a 50 session hand limit just in case I end up running long without noticing. Learning mode is on, which should mean that like nothing is really in the way. I'm gonna move that out. I'm actually gonna go into focus mode and make this bigger. I have the time bank off just because I think while talking for the video, it's too hard, but I would at least consider using a 25-second time bank for this if I was gonna like drill it on my own after having done it for a while. I think the best way to do this, by the way, is to actually do what I'm doing right now and talk out loud about what I'm thinking in this moment and how I think about the spot in general. And that should help solidify your thoughts when you are in game and have to do it at game speed, as opposed to if I just had like a 10-second timer on right now, it would take, you know, like even without talking, it would be hard to kind of get through everything. It would be mostly instinctive or instinctual. Okay. So one big thing about these low jack versus hijack spots that I remember from having studied these spots before is that the low jack opens like every ace, but also has a ton of Broadway, and in particular like offsuit Broadway that I don't think the hijack always has. Like the hijack will either 3-bet some of the Broadways, some of the ace-x even, and doesn't have as many like suited connectors and like just overall like trash hands on a board, like ace high boards in general. So I think that overall we do a lot of checking on a board like this because we just have so much garbage. And you might think that this hand would mostly want to bet just because it's jack high. And I think that that could be reasonable for sure. But I also think that check fold is also reasonable. I could see if we were going to bet, I could see us betting, I guess like a medium size if we were going to bet to maybe fold out like some king or queen highs, but we block some of those anyway. And so I think opponent's going to be pretty concentrated around like pocket pairs and ace-x. So I think we just check, which we do 77% of the time. So that looks pretty good. We face a very small bet, but I think that for all the reasons I just listed, about how their range concentrates on this board, we probably can't actually continue. I mean, we do have backdoors, but from out of position, it's just going to be pretty challenging. Oh, we cannot fold. I'm surprised that that didn't count as a mistake to show me. I guess it was an inaccuracy instead of a mistake technically, but oops, I want history. So on the flop, it wants us to actually call because the sizing is so small. That isn't unreasonable. That was the one thing that made me want to call, was that it was the 20% size instead of like a 33 or a 55% size where I think we would definitely fold, but interesting. Good to know. So we'll go on to the next hand. Go back to focus mode. Oh, I guess I just ended the session technically, but whatever. So on this board, I think a lot of differences from the previous board. We do have a 2 Broadway board, which means that all of our like offsuit and suited Broadway is doing better on this board type than it was on just the ace high board. We also now get to pressure pocket pairs a lot better on this board because we connect with it more. And so hands like 10s through 6s, and then in particular 3s, 4s, 3s, deuces are probably just either folding or at least indifferent. And we could probably do that at like maybe a medium size. The only thing I'm not sure about is whether ace 10 without a spade really wants to do that, because if we do get raised, like we probably just have to fold our gut shot, and that's not great. But maybe with a medium size, we just don't face raises too much. And by the way, guys, I am by no means like perfect in this. I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, especially with sizing. So bear with me. Looks like that was an okay size to choose, although it wasn't the preferred sizing. So I am curious to see if that was a higher frequency check or not. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can't. Or maybe we can look at that after the hand's over or something. I think once we do get called, this hand doesn't really have a lot of good properties to barrel. Maybe technically it has okay properties to triple off, but I think like we block Jack 10 and like worse ace highs and stuff like that. So I think we just want to check now. Check 100%. Okay, makes sense. I think we're probably just giving up here. Opponent's range is fairly condensed and fairly showdown driven at this point, I think, when they don't bet turn. So they also pick up sets pretty non-zero on these two cards. Because like even if I think 8s and 7s are indifferent on flop, I think they're calling at least sometimes. So I'm just gonna check. We now face a large bet, and I think this is gonna be a pretty clear fold. We should have a lot of like at least some king X that gets here that can call. And this is just too weak. Okay, cool. This board is another one that I think is high frequency check because like, even though we have an overpair advantage, we might not open every pocket pair. Do we open every pocket pair from low jack? I guess we probably do, at least some frequency. So we do have all the sets, but I think opponent has most of them as well. They're going to interact with the board and have some overpairs, and we have more air still, I think. So I think check is good. Turn 10, we have jack of diamonds. I think if we were going to have a jack X hand to bluff with, we'd rather have queen jack, which is weaker, obviously, and also has more equity when called, generally. And I think we'd also prefer the jack to be offsuit to the 10 because of some like interaction with the suited combos of 10x for the opponent. Probably not a big factor, but I think when jack 10 off is not in range for them, it's probably makes sense. So I'm just going to check. We probably also have some showdown value. You can see, interestingly, that it gave me the double check mark, even though it said check was only happening 34% of the time. I think that that's occurring because it's betting a very high frequency, but it's splitting so much between the sizes that 34% was actually the highest frequency option, technically. I think now that we arrive at river, we beat some ace highs still, so we just check. Yeah, now we check 100% after. That's interesting though. After we don't start bluffing turn, we check 100% because like we're sort of committed to the idea of showing down this hand now. I think second pair on this type of board is a little bit too weak to bet. I mean, it's kind of nice that we block continues. We want some protection. Do we want some protection? Maybe we want some protection. We can bet small. This is a board that I think we get to mix on, but there's also probably some big sizes. So I kind of think that second pair might be more of a check. Okay, high frequency check. I mean, we're definitely not checking the check full to like 55% pot. I don't think check raise has a lot of merit, as a lot of the hands we beat will continue, and I don't think any hands we're ahead of will too frequently. I mean, there will be some hands that we beat, but we're blocking a lot of like the hands we would get value from. So pure call. This is a good turn. I'm guessing this gets led at least sometimes because it decreases the opponent's value combos. We actually have like a pretty decent amount of 9x that can check call. But I think lead is probably unnecessary, and I would like to do it with a more polarized range, not with second pair. So let's check again. Okay, good. face another bet, and I think this now becomes a call again. We don't block hearts. We do block Jack 10, but Queen Jack, but like there's still so many other combos. I think we call. Yeah, 100% call. Yeah, I almost wish it didn't tell me that, because it tells me a little more about like where we are in our range, and the fact that like we might have to check call river, where maybe I thought I was closer before. Definitely in. Oh wow, interesting. I thought that we were in total check mode now, but it actually like leading 10% pot. This is probably to get value. Actually, it's probably to get value from 7s, 5s, 4s, 3s, and I mean if it ever gets here, and then like I guess just kind of allows us to block with like the really strong hands in our range and make it kind of difficult to play against. So I'm going to change our move here to 10% so that we can continue through the hand. We do face all in. I honestly don't really know, because I don't really know what our lead range looks like here. I think we're somewhat, I would have assumed we were somewhat polarized, but I guess small size means we're not polarized. So we're actually fairly fair. We're fairly far down in our range by value, but we're not far down in our range by combo potentially. However, we don't block hearts, block Jack 10 still. This feels really close, but we block Jack 9 suited and 8-9 suited, which that's actually pretty nice. I don't know. I'm going to click call. Opponent is supposed to find a lot of bluffs that like real life opponents don't. Okay, it's nice to know it was mixing like 55-45, because I was super on the fence. So the fact that I was on the fence on a mixed call versus fold is kind of nice. Okay, ace king jack. Let me think. We have more Broadway. We have like offsuit queen 10. So I think we have an equity advantage and a nut advantage here. We have sets of aces, kings, and jacks that they don't have. I think that we can do... What are we targeting with deuces? Like, I don't think we have to bet range, but what would we target with deuces? If we bet deuces, we're like getting equity denial from 2 overs, so a small size could be nice. I don't think we're getting better to fold. Maybe we can get 3s and better to fold like across multiple streets. So I think potentially, yeah, I think potentially small bet. I kind of like. Okay, nice. That is the highest frequency size. That's pretty cool. I often get these very wrong, so it's been nice. On a turn 7, I am very tempted to just like start turning this into a bluff. One nice thing about these small pocket pairs when we have the suit of the flush, it's not that we can hit a flush, obviously. We only have one of the suit, but when we do hit a set, it can't bring in a flush, and it can't bring in a straight in this instance. So it's like it's a better candidate than like pocket 10s, especially because like if we can get 3s through 6s, 8s, 9s to fold, that seems like a pretty cool aspect. And I think if we are going to bluff with this hand, and by the way, it is a bluff because like once we've bet, we've already established that like they should have a better hand for the vast majority of their range. So if we check, it's pretty much giving up, and that doesn't seem really right to me on this board. I think it's probably either like small overbet to get it all in on turn. I mean, maybe 83% is fine, but I think maybe if it was Badugi, it's overbet, and if it's flush draw, it's 83%. I really like the overbet though. It's just that when SPR is only 3.67, overbet might not be necessary at this size, but I like overbet, so let's just overbet. Ooh, baby, highest frequency size. Let's go. Let's go. Those always feel so good. That honestly, like, this is so funny, but I feel like some of my best feelings in poker come from like using this trainer and then picking the like optimal size or like the most favored size, because it's not something that I'm like really great at in game. So being able to do it off the table and like getting in the reps helps a lot with in-game execution. It's not to say that I'm always going to choose 125% overbet with deuces after betting that flop in a single raise pot, but it shows that like I'm capable of thinking through that spot and coming to a theoretically sound decision, even though I may deviate pretty significantly as an exploit, particularly when I play live or when I play against a weaker player online. All right, this one, aces. I mean, so these spots are so tricky because, like, in reality, I think that a bet is kind of nice, as opponents probably don't bet a high enough frequency on these boards. But in GTO land, I think there's a good chance that we're supposed to check this at a high frequency to either check raise or check call when he's like stabbing with a spade, just like the raw ace of spades or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm conflicted. I think if we do bet, it's like a medium, like either 33% or 55%. I don't think it's a big size, but I'm going to check. Okay, it's the highest frequency, but again, that's split. 65% bets are split across different sizes, so high mixing. Not surprising. I do think against small size, we check raise. I'm thinking... So if we go like almost 9 big blinds, right, it's going to be 18 plus 7, 25. We just get to like go all in on turns. And I think that's probably pretty good. Small is like pretty awkward SPR. That's like getting in on 3 streets most likely. And then the bigger size just makes it really easy to get it in. So I'm between 55% and 83%, but I definitely want to check raise against the small size. I think 55 is fine. Oh, let's go. He folded, but let's go. We've been doing a lot of optimal sizes. That's pretty cool. I should probably end it here before I just like totally mess up. But 884, I know, is like one of the highest, like these mid and then low paired boards are some of the highest frequency checks. Not highest frequency, but they're very high frequency checks. Like this is probably like 75+% check, I would guess. Kings is also a hand that's fairly invulnerable to turn cards. We kind of want our opponent to catch up, make a worse top pair to our overpair. Ace-X is, an ace is the only turn card we like really don't want to see. Even a 5, 6, 7 isn't the end of the world. It's rainbow. And just check. You see it's mixing a lot, but 54% check. Okay. And like here, I think we still just check call. So like in contrast to the previous hand where like opponent has a lot of king X and they have a lot of like flush draws and they can like get it in and we can get it in profitably. It's like if they bet and we check raise and they jam and we get it in, like, yeah, we probably get it in against 9s through queens some frequency, but not worse than that. I don't think like they don't just run it with 6-5. So I like call actually. Oh, I'm wrong though. Maybe we just go small. We go small to target like ace high or something. So as played, do we just continue betting small? Are we trying to get stacks in even? I mean, it's not a great card. Like there's a lot of rivers we don't like, so I'm not convinced we should pull out. Pulling out usually implies that like that we can sort of get the money in without risk of our equity being sort of flipped on its head by a run out. So I think a small bet or a medium sized bet are better certainly than an all in. 50% is probably not polarizing too much. So, oh wow, basically 100% check. Fascinating. I'll need to probably study this one, but I'll change the move to check just so that we get to continue the hand. Goes check, and now they've probably caught up. So we probably think that there's a lot of like Jack X of hearts. Honestly, Jack X of hearts, diamonds, spades. Jack 10, Jack 9 suited, Queen Jack suited, Ace Jack with backdoor. So how do we target those hands? I don't think as much 8X is in range. There's maybe boats. There's also worse pocket pairs. Probably target that by going big, but I don't think we can overbet big. So I think I like 85%, I guess. It likes all in for 300% pot. Yo, the computer is such a scumbag. Like, how does it just like, and it's not even like a mix. Do you see this? Is it like, we have to study this. We have to look at study this spot or whatever. This is absurd. Yo, what? Like, all right, continue. And then Study this spot. How is this a thing? Wait a minute. Wait, why is it showing me? No. I wanted to see. Okay, I see. I knew. I want to see. So, check raise, small. No, check, bet, check raise, small. Right? What was it? Oh, shoot. I already forgot the action here. All right. So what was it? It was check, bet, call, check, all in. Oh, okay. It's just check, bet, call, turn 5 of hearts, check all. That makes sense. I think I must have like forgot it was. Did I click the wrong button or something? I don't even know. Check. He's just capping himself so much with this line, right? That must be what it is. Jack of clubs. So our whole range is just like F you. Oh my God. Look at these overbets. All in size is used 5% of the time. And it like loves it with kings and queens. It's like literally only doing that with kings and queens, like and 8x. But it's like, it just thinks, I think it must just think that the opponent, so what's the hijack range, right? Hijack range is like hitting a jack a lot, I guess. No, but it's like, come on. It doesn't even have that much jack X to call with. I guess it has ace jack, king jack off. It has a good amount. It has a good amount of like ace jack. And so when you don't have kings, I get it. So kings doesn't block ace jack, which is their highest frequency jack. So it's a much better jam with kings and queens than with pocket aces. Aces is like sometimes a jam, but also you can use a small size or a check. Check is super devious. You just let them blast off. But like, look at that. Look how red that is. That is the color of blood. That is the color. I don't even know why it's showing this little sliver of green when it's 99.9% and it's one specific combo. It's like literally you have the king of hearts and the king of the suit of the jack. So you block the flush draws that can bluff, and you block like, I guess, king jack suited that can value bet. Like, and that still only leads to 0.1% of a. It's less than 0.1% because look, it rounded down everything else to zero still. So that sliver is just disrespectful. It's like the tiny sliver of life on your HP bar when you're like about to lose a video game. Wow. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was cool to look over. Let me know if there are certain types of spots you'd like to see me go over. I think that's probably where I'll go with this, is sort of like take your input and see what types of situations you find challenging and what you would like to see me go through the trainer on, because I think that's probably like where people get a lot of the value from, is hearing me talk through my process on certain board textures and how I think about the range on range aspects and stuff like that. So by no stretch am I perfect, but this is like what I want to showcase, which is like me studying and me also forcing myself to study some of these spots that aren't always fun to do, but are a little easier to do when I'm making content for you guys, all at Cards Chat. So again, this has been Matt Vaughn, and I hope to see you all in another video very soon. Don't forget, I have an Ask Me Anything thread in the CardsChat Poker forums. Ask me anything down there. Tell me what kind of videos you'd like to see on GTO Wizard or anything else. I'm going to be around.